is Samuel De La Torre, and this is a research paper that we made to educate people on how to prevent their networks from being attacked. Modern technology is pushing forward, and so are modern hackers. This day and age, you shouldn't open your email or answer your cell phone without being concerned about having your information stolen. The mediums in which hackers can reach your personal or financial information is vast and often very hard to detect. Network hacks can often be initiated via social engineering, a ploy that takes place mostly over the phone or on the web. The hacker can send out an email with a spoofed address, then send to a user to a fake website in which he is asked for confidential information. It could be about their bank account, it could be about some medical records, all sorts of things. What makes it really hard is that companies would never ask you for such things without first going through a set of security questions that only you can answer. So it's actually pretty easy to spot these hackers if you kind of know what you're looking for. The unfortunate thing is that most people are not well versed in personal security, and this makes them soft targets for witty hackers. The purpose of this paper is to inform and educate users on some of the most commonly used hacking techniques and how to protect yourselves from them. We will discuss some of the easiest to implement countermeasures, as well as highlight some statistics that show how and where these hackers focus their efforts. Network hacking is a very real threat and must be acknowledged as such. 1995 was an exciting year for America's technological history. The USB became the standard, PHP was publicly released, and the dot-com boom began. However, with every advancement that humankind makes, some related evil is born. That same year saw the emergence of a specific kind of hacker, also known as freaks. Freaks were known to explore, experiment, and study telecommunication systems. This is the story behind the now commonly used word phishing. The term fits because of the dynamics of stealing information is much like that of actual fishing, where the angler puts the bait out and the fish eats it, only to find that there is now a hook in his mouth and he is boarding a boat. In all actuality, phishing is just a form of social engineering, and it preys on those with little to no information on online security. It is important to remember that internet security was not a priority back in 1995, around the time that AOL was gaining popularity. This explains how hackers would coax AOL users to provide their username and passwords, thereby forfeiting all rights to their personal email, messages, and possibly even financial information used to pay for AOL services. Phishing has grown immensely since those years. Today, it has become increasingly difficult to keep up with all the new ways that your information can be stolen. Another way the threat has materialized itself is via spoofed emails, in which the user would open an email, click a link, and be redirected to a replicated website that looks just like their financial institution, where they would now enter their login and password, and that would be lost as well. That information would then be sent to the phisher, and he'd have complete access over the user's financial information. Dejan Kim explains from his research, as reported by Javelin's Strategy and Research, that in 2010 there were approximately 8.1 million adults who unknowingly handed out their personal information to phishers, which resulted in the loss of approximately $37 billion to U.S. banks. This is because most banks will return the lost funds to the account holder while taking the loss on themselves. It is not uncommon for financial institutions to be a primary target of this type of social engineering. This figure shows some of the statistics. Might be kind of hard to read, but you'll have the file. It is our responsibility to make sure that history does not continue to repeat itself. We must be mindful of what we click on, and please do not open any emails that look suspicious, especially so when they are related to your financial information. When in doubt, just call the institution and find out if they sent the email. This will hopefully uncover the scam before it closes a grip on your sensitive information. More importantly, if you're in charge of a network of any kind, make sure that you properly educate all the staff that's going to be using it. Don't allow them to just freely open emails and click on things unknowingly. Try to create filters that prevent those emails from getting in. Make sure that you create barriers so when people call in, they can't just ask for random information from random people. Everybody shouldn't know everything about any company or any faucet of any company. Try to limit how much people know, and at the very least, make them aware that they're holding on to sensitive information and shouldn't just give it up when asked over the phone because someone sounds like they know what they're talking about. Make sure that there's like credentials in order for when people call, they can identify themselves over the phone, because it's kind of a convenient way to get information, especially if it's like a time-sensitive thing. But it shouldn't be so easy as to just call and get some information because you said that you were such and such person, and they identified with that name, and now that person has more information than they should have gotten if there were some credentials in order to prevent the person answering the phone from just, spilling their guts to them. So there's a lot of ways to do it. There's a lot of ways to keep your networks clean and safe, but mostly it boils down to education. You gotta educate your staff. So I'm going to allow some of my colleagues to come in and show you some statistical facts about network hacking and how it takes place and where these hackers focus their energy on.
My name is Ricardo Wallace, and I'm going to speak on the statistical analysis of network attacks. Network attacks are becoming more popular in this generation. Some criminals might do it for pleasure, while others do it for personal gain. Criminals have found new ways of committing felonies without having to leave their own homes. Motivation behind attacks includes cybercrime, hacktivism, cyber espionage, and cyber warfare. Cybercrime is the most popular attack at 67%. Hacktivism, which is political attacks, is 21%. And 10% is cyber espionage, and cyber warfare is 2.4%. Cybercrime is a fast-growing area in network attacks due to its feasibility in successfully achieving a crime. The Internet Crime Complaint Center, also known as IC3, stated that the amount of money lost in 2014 due to cybercrime accumulated to over $800 million. And the state with the highest amount of damage was California with over $131 million. Second came Florida with $94 million. The average loss throughout the US was about $15.42 million. The number of network attacks have started to increase. The main targets of network attacks in 2014 were industries and governments. Industries were the main target with 34%. Government came in second with 20%. Organizations were 10%. The method for the majority of these attacks is unknown because they still have not been solved. They are not yet sure how some of these methods were attacked, but the methods are known. The known methods are SQLI, which leads with the majority of known attacks. Second is web defacement. Third is malware, and finally DDoS attacks. In 2014, network attacks were a leading cause of data breaches. The percentage increased from 42 to 47% in the following year. In 2015, the revenue loss of the companies affected by network attacks averaged from $1.6 million compared to $1.3 million in the previous year. This causes businesses to suffer because their clientele lose that sense of security and do not want to continue any further business with the company. With all the news on company data breaches, people are reluctant to conduct any further business in fear of getting their personal information stolen, even from big companies. The amount of money a company loses due to a network attack does not just stop when it occurs. In fact, it continues to affect the company's finances even after the network attack occurred. The company still have to confirm that the threats have been completely removed by hiring forensic investigators, and they have also have to commence the process of attempting to reestablish the company back to a stable state and recover all lost information. In 2015, this process cost companies around $1 million, which was higher than the $0.76 million of the previous year. These investigations allow the company to obtain a thorough search of the system to fix breaches and potentially uncover any other potential opportunities that may allow the network attacks from causing future damage to the company.
How it happened. We are going to discuss the different techniques that have been implemented by hackers to gain access into a network. The reasons could be unknown. The damage, mentally or monetary, couldn't be calculated. But what we can assure is how they did it. Let's examine how it happened. First, we are going to analyze one of the largest data breaches in history, the Target security breach. This breach happened because of a basic network segmentation error. The massive data breach at Target in 2014 was caused of a retailer's failure to properly segregate systems handling sensitive payment card data from the rest of its network. The hackers broke into the retailer's network using login credentials stolen from an HVAC company that does work for Target at a number of locations. The attackers first gained access to Target network on November 15, 2013 with a username and password stolen from Patio Mechanical Services, a Sharpsburg, Pennsylvania-based company that specializes in providing refrigeration and HVAC systems for companies like Target. Patio had access right to Target network for carrying out tasks like monitoring energy consumption and temperature at various stores. The attackers got access provided by Patio credential to move about undetected on Target's network and upload malware programs on the company point-of-sale system. The hackers first test the data-stealing malware on a small number of cash registers, and then, after determining that the software worked, uploaded into a majority of Target POS systems. Between November 27 and December 15, the attackers used the malware to steal data on about 40 million debit and credit cards. Target chose to allow a third-party access to its network, but failed to properly secure that access. Even if Target had a valid reason for giving Patio access, the retailer should have segmented its network to ensure that Patio and other third parties had no access to its payment systems. Several mature processes and practices currently exist for security third-party access to enterprise networks. Even the payment card industry data security standard, which companies like Target are required to follow, specifies network segmentation as a way to protect sensitive cardholder data. It was Target's responsibility to ensure that those practices were followed. But the fact that attackers were apparently able to leverage their third-party access to reach Target's payment system suggests those practices were improperly implemented. The only really sophisticated component of the attack appears to have been the malware used to intercept and steal payment card data from Target POS systems. But the attackers would have been unable to install the malware if Target had employed proper network segmentation practice in the first place. A company that specializes in third-party risk management said that the breach highlights the threat posed to companies by network-connected outsiders. In today's network world, companies are working with more and more business partners with functions like payment collection and processing, manufacturing, IT, and human resources. Hackers find the weakest point of entry to gain access to sensitive information, and often that point is within the victim's ecosystem. For easy understanding of the event, we can summarize the attack in 11 steps. Step 1. Install malware that steals credentials. Step number 2. Connect using stolen credentials. Step number 3. Exploit a web application vulnerability. Step 4. Search relevant target for propagation. Step 5. Steal access token from domain admins. Step 6. Create a new domain admin account using the stolen token. Step 7. Propagate to relevant computer using the new admin credentials. Step 8. Steal 70 million identity without finding credit cards. Step 9. Install malware and then steal 40 million credit cards. Step 10. Send stolen data via network share. Step 11. Stolen data via FTP. Another attack that we're going to analyze and explain how it happened is the attack into T-Mobile and Experian. This happened on October 2015, where 50 million people records were compromised. T-Mobile used Experian to process its credit application. The world's biggest consumer credit monitoring firm disclosed a massive data breach that exposed sensitive personal data of some 15 million people who applied for service with T-Mobile. Experian explained the details on its website. The unauthorized access was in an isolated incident over a limited period of time. It included access to a server that contained personal information for consumers who applied for T-Mobile postpaid services or products, which require a credit check from September 1st through September 16, 2015. The Experian decision analyzed credit information support portal allow anyone to upload a file attachment of virtually any file type. Those experts say such file upload are not so easy for attackers to use to inject malicious files into databases and other computing environments, and that having such capability out in the open without at least first require users to supply a valid username and password credential is asking for trouble. Experian Insecurity has dragged T-Mobile into its privacy scandal. What is the lesson learned? Base security assessment as part of acquisition strategy and do not open systems exposed to internet without any form of authentication.
Hi, my name is Javier Velasco and I'm going to be talking about the prevention of network attacks. There is a multitude of ways that users can protect their networks from cyber attacks, whether they are a large company or a small home network that you're trying to protect. We'll be talking about large networks since most of the ways you could protect and secure a large network could be applied to a small one too. First thing we'll be mentioning are the common ways of attacking a network, like viruses, spyware, and phishing. Also, we'll be noting how to protect against these. We'll discuss more in-depth methods of safety for your network. A virus, a piece of code that replicates itself and attempts to cause harm to your system. Viruses come in all shapes and sizes. They could be as obvious as a blue moon or could also be extremely hidden. The good news that being one of the common ways to harm a network is that there's also several ways to protect yourself from them. For example, an antivirus. An antivirus nowadays protects you from mostly everything out there, as long as you make sure that they're well kept up to date and you'll have nothing to worry about. Most of them conveniently also protect you from spyware, although it is not a bad idea to also include a separate anti-spyware program. But if for some reason you're reluctant against that, settling for an excellent antivirus could help you kill two birds with one stone. Phishing, the act of creating fake but official-looking documents to trick the user into providing credit card, bank account, and/or PayPal information. All of this will lead to identity theft by an intruder. Most web browsers will grant user protection against these type of threats, and also most email services provide, for example, Gmail or Outlook will shelter you from the fake emails of the sort. Going more in depth, I'll be mentioning it as a it is never a good idea to have any type of P2P, which stands for peer-to-peer client, such as uTorrent, BitTorrent, installed in any of these client computers in your network. While there are easy ways to gain access to media, like services, music or video or stuff like that, this works both ways. So intruders will also have an excellent method to gain access to your system and steal corporate and/or personal data. Best way to protect yourself against these is to either deny all access to these type of programs or prohibit the installation of them completely. Another method to protect yourself is installing a firewall that could monitor the HTTP browsing done in your network and decide whether to let it pass or to block it. Also, installing an IDS, which stands for Intruder Detection System, and an IPS, which stands for Intruder Prevention System, will also highly improve your security. These two programs alone are powerful enough to prevent damage in the right hands, but combined, they make a great duo that any hacker will have trouble getting through. For example, an IPS alone works just like a firewall. And the way that a firewall works is that it has an X amount of rules that say allow the traffic through. So when a packet is going through the network, a firewall looks through it, through the rules of the packet, searching for the allowed traffic, the allowed part, and if it finds it, then it's good to go. If it doesn't find it, then it just denies the packet completely. And an IPS just works like that, but in reverse. Instead of looking for rules that say allow the packet through, it looks for rules that deny the packet. So if it contains any of those rules, the packet won't get through. On the other hand, an IDS is just like a visibility tool that it monitors the network at different points, and it sets off an alarm when it finds something that could be problematic for the network. So if you were to categorize them, you could say that the IDS, it's sort of a visibility tool, and the IPS is more of a control tool.